What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Camille. I am your host, Camille, and today I want to be talking to y'all about youth. And so, for me, obviously, if you don't know clearly by the pigtails, I'm a young girl. I am 20 years old. By the time you see this video, I will be 21. No. I turned 21 in a couple days. So I'm filming this, I think, August 18th, right? Or August 17th, I think. My birthday is August 22nd. So I'm 20 years old, right? Many of y'all will be watching, I'll be 21 years old. But I just want to give you a little background. I got saved at 19 years old, right? When I got saved, I was still very worldly. If you don't know my testimony, I used to be gay. And so I was still doing the LGBTQ thing. I was still getting drunk. I was still smoking. I was still doing this and that. But when I turned 20, well, really, a few months before my 20th birthday, I had got baptized, right? And I knew one of my fears when I got saved was that I knew God was not a God to play with, right? And I always told myself once I got saved that when I got baptized, I was done playing games, right? I was going to fully devote myself to God. And so last year, July, I got baptized and I'm 19 years old. And I cut off everybody who was of the world. By the time I was 20, I had dropped out of college. I completely changed career choices. I originally wanted to be a lawyer, but I realized quickly with the Lord that many of the things that were going to make me a great lawyer were making me a horrible disciple of Christ. Now being 20, pushing 21 years old, I have completely devoted my life to the spreading and the multiplying of disciples, right? The spreading of the gospel. And I say all that not to boast in myself, but to paint a picture for you that your youth does not define what you can do for God. I think youth is the very thing that qualifies you to be used by God best. I have learned that with old age comes stubbornness. God despises the proud. There is a verse in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 that says, let no man despise you because of your youth, right? And I think for many of us, we face, as young Christians, Gen Z Christians, we face ridicule for wanting to live a holy and separated and consecrated life, for wanting to separate ourselves from the things of this world, for not wanting to drink, for not wanting to smoke, for not wanting to fornicate, for wanting to get married, right? For wanting to get married young. I'm 20 years old and we get married right now today. You see what I'm saying? And so we face so much criticism, right? From our peers who are not saved, maybe even from our superiors, right? Our parents, our cousins, or this or that, or our employers on a job, or maybe a professor at the school hall who's looking at us and saying that we're wasting our youth by choosing to be with God, by choosing to walk holy, by choosing to walk circumspectly. And my whole purpose in making this video is to say that you're not too young. You're not too young to love God. You're not too young to live for Him. You're not too young to be passionate about Him. You're not too young to do whatever you have to do for Him. And it's not just me saying it from my own personal experience, but I always want to come at you with scripture. 1 Samuel 17. David is about to kill Goliath. A story that many of us are all familiar with. Goliath came through on Israel and he got the popping. David came through rolling a wheel basket of cheese, just trying to take care of his brothers and see how they doing. He heard the Philistine define the army of the living God. And he said, not today. And when he goes to King Saul, in 1 Samuel chapter 17, let me go there in my Bible, y'all. Give me 1 second. In 1 Samuel chapter 17, in verse 32, and David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Verse 33, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. David in his youth, and his ignorance of bliss, and his love and his passion for God, was willing to go and face a giant for him, to slay this giant for him, which he would eventually do. But there are giants in the world in which we face. And when we face these giants, we cannot let our youth disqualify us. Youth does not disqualify you from fulfilling purpose. It implores you to do so. Because of David's youth, David wasn't relying or calling upon past failures. He didn't have enough, first of all. He would go in furtherance to say, the Lord have delivered your servant. He's talking to King Saul. He's saying, the Lord have delivered me from the lion and the bear. But it's in our youth that we are so bold and so on fire and so passionate for God that we're willing to face giants for him. God needs more giant killers. And I believe that our generation is the generation full of giant slayers. But if you adhere to the voice of Saul, telling you that you are too young, that you are too dumb, that you are too passionate, that you ready to jump off a cliff. Like my mama used to say, if your friends jump off a cliff, you're going to jump too. If Christ jump, I'm doing a cannonball. You hear me? If Christ jump, I'm doing a cannonball. And I think it's beautiful to be young and on fire for God, willing to do anything that he needs us to. And we need to be more like David. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 1 tells us to remember thy creator in the days of our youth, before the days draw nigh and thou find no pleasure in them. I could be misquoting, but I'll put it on the screen. So but he's saying that when you get older, you stop, Solomon is saying when you get older, you stop really having pleasure in things. Everything starts to be like regular to you because you've experienced so much. But there's a freshness about experiencing something in your youth. There's a freshness about experiencing God in your youth and fighting for him and having a passion for him and a compassion for his people and a passion for his word. These things are important. But I truly believe that this passion is really truly found in the heart of the young believer. Because the Bible tells us that hope deferred makes the heart grow weary. And as time prolongs, the older you get, your heart is going to be hoping for a lot of things. And that hope may very well be deferred. And so the older you get, I truly believe that your passion oftentimes dwindles because of the hardships and the circumstances that life brings. And it's fair. But while you are in your youth, remember your creator. All the energy that you have. That's another thing that he's saying right here too. When you get old, you ain't got all that energy. You ain't got the energy to go street preach and go get on TikTok and make all these videos and do this and that and do this and that. So while you have it in you, do what God has called you to do. Stop letting Saul limit you. Because with God, your potential is limitless. We can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. But we can't just say these things and quote these scriptures. We have to live them. We have to have confidence in him. Philippians 1:6 says, being confident in this very thing, that he which hath began a work in me shall complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. We have to have that confidence. And we have to pair that confidence with the energy of our youth and allow them to merge together to do what he has called us to do. David was called to slay Goliath. David was called to be king over Israel. In his youth, David dedicated himself to the Lord. He was anointed, but in his anointing, he was preparing himself for the time of his appointing. What are you going to do with what God has given you? Because he's given you youth. He's giving you youth. It's a key ingredient, right? In the recipe of our lives. And what I don't want us to do is to look back 10 or 15 years from now and our 20s are filled with doom scrolling. Our 20s are filled with, I thought about doing this or I thought about doing that. I want us to look back over our lives and see our 20s as we slayed a whole lot of Goliaths. Not only did we slay Goliath, we went back for the brothers now. Not only did we slay Goliath, we went back for his brother now. That's what I want us to be in this Gen Z as believers. I want us to be giant slayers. But it starts with, for one, accepting that you're young. And it's okay. It's first of all, it's cool to be saved. Let's just say that. It's cool to be saved. It's cool to know Christ. There's a beautiful thing in that. But in your youth, when you ain't got to stretch to get up in the morning and your knee ain't pop, locking and dropping, and you ain't passing out because it's hot, give the Lord everything that you got. Because you don't know. The Bible tells us, redeeming the time, for the days are evil. Meaning that you don't know what's going to come to this earth. Right? So do it. Maximize your time, maximize your youth, maximize everything that God has given you. Maximize your time, maximize your youth, maximize everything that God has given you. And when you do this, you become a faithful servant. We want to be found faithful. I think for us, for our generation, speaking specifically for Gen Z, we look for a lot of external validation. But if you maximize your youth, if you do everything God has called you to do in your 20s, and you live for Him fully, and you give Him all your energy, and you give Him all of your passion, if you do these things, you will get the ultimate validation, which is this: well done, my good and faithful servant. Well done, my good and faithful servant. The goal is to be found faithful. Had David died soon as he killed Goliath, he would have been found faithful, because in his youth he did what God called him to do. He slayed the giant before him. He didn't listen to Saul. That's the whole takeaway. That's all I want you to get from this video is stop listening to Saul. Do what God has called you to do. Maximize your youth. Do not let anyone despise you because of your youth. They just mad that they old. Literally. They mad that they didn't do what they was supposed to do when they was 20. They mad that they didn't take the risk. They mad that they didn't live for Christ. They mad that they got 10 kids, 10 different baby daddies. They mad. You have to live your life. Live your life. I can see them. You did what I'm saying. So I say all that to say, age ain't nothing but a number, and going down ain't nothing but a thing. This love and I got for God, it'll never change. Ooh, yeah. And so, honestly, that's it for this episode of Conversations with Camille. If you enjoyed this content, like this video, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on those post notifications. We're going to be walking through a series called Lessons from the Life of David. So if you're interested in that series, it's going to be one of these thoughts. I don't know. It's going to be a subscribe, and then it's going to be a playlist, or it's going to be like that. Either way go, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video bless you. There's going to be like a little stoppage in the middle because I have to stop my camera and blah, blah, blah. But nevertheless, I love all y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in.